Hello everyone, this is Laco S, and welcome to another Ace Combat themed livery showcase. This time we're going to be going over Mirage F1 skins, and before I begin, a quick note, these are going to be all Mirage CE skins. I don't believe anyone's really created Mirage EE skins at this time, nor do I think the two skins are directly compatible with each other, so it's all going to be it's going to be interesting with the Mirage just because there's going to be 4 variants. It'll be interesting to see what skins get created for what aircraft. But for the CE, at least, let's start off with this skin in front of us. It's from user Mr. Sir 46. And this is the Ustio Air Force's 29th Auxiliary Fighter Unit, known as Phipthere. Their symbol is a sort of like a flying serpent dragon, which is pretty cool. And this is one of those skins that has 4 unique, as actually a skin pack of 5 unique skins across 4 different pilots. We'll get to that in a second. And each skin has its its own unique tail number, has its own unique pilot with their own unique kill marks up front, and their own skin coloration. So we're going to go ahead. The squadron leader here has this southeast camo appearance where you have a black nose, you have the shark. The shark mouth is actually common across all 4, but you have the Southeast Asia colors across the aircraft, which looks pretty awesome on the Mirage F1. Kind of reminds me of a Super Saber or a Thud. You have the you have the high vis Ustio rondels on each wing, and the tail here has a really distinct art. It has the M Squadron emblem with the red serpent dragon. It has the Ustio 6th Air Force Division's emblem at the very top, and you have Valais Air Base code and 035, which is again this aircraft's tail number, and of course Ustio Air Force written down there. And again, the other side's the same exact way, and this pilot of course has his own kill marks listed there. So the second aircraft in this series, again, he has his own kill marks up there. Same tail markings as the other one. Again, different tail number code for this one. High vis markings all around. This time, this pattern is more of a desert pattern. So you have more of a light gray, like a light sandy gray, and like a more of a dark kind of olive green, dark muddy texture. This is like a really interesting selection of colors for this one, but it pales in comparison to number 3, who has very much. I want to say this is either based off an Iranian skin or a South African skin or some kind of African skin or maybe even a Cuban skin. It's very much. It looks very familiar, but it's definitely from an Air Force that isn't not super well known, but like sort of not uncommon. It's not something you think of right away, but it's a really striking skin where you have that sandy beige, and you have the olive drab, and then you have that like red clay dirt third texture to it. And it's really cool because you have also the stripes going down the aircraft. You have that muddy red, you have that clay like red, which pops really nicely on this. Again, also he has his own kill marks, he has his own tail number. And it's also repeated here on the tail. Like on the other side of this aircraft, same as all the other ones. And then we have this one back here, which is the number 4. Number 4 again has his own tail number, his own kill marks. This one's pretty neat too because unlike the other ones that had a lot of beige, gray, and a lot of like beige sand colors and a lot of greens. This one's entirely. This one has a light blue and like a darker blue color combination, which is pretty cool. It's definitely something. Of the 3. It's definitely the most unique, and it's pretty cool to have again like a different, like a completely out of their skin in a skin pack like this. Now, what's also interesting is there's a 5th skin in this pack, where number 2 turns traitor, sort of so to speak, and he actually joins a world without borders. So you can actually see the shark mouth, the eyes, changed colors. he actually has, as part of keeping to very much the ethos of A World Without Borders, he's erased all the kill marks of the different nations. He erased his own nation. Now he erased his own nation. He erased his own nationality's flag, also on the cockpit, so it's just his name. The Ustio rondels have been covered over with paint, and then you have the red triangle mark. His old squadron mark was also eliminated, and the World Without Borders emblem is in front of his tail mark. And you can also see like the Ustio Air Force text, the old squadron patch, and even the Ustio 6th Air Division patch. They've all been painted over, which is a really cool detail, even on a skin like this, to see okay, he put some thought in. It's okay, he still had. It's not like he got an entirely fresh paint job. He just quickly went over the old emblems with spray paint, and then scratched out two things that were too big, and then put his own new emblems on there instead. So this is pretty. It's a really. I love this idea. You don't really see. I don't think there's anyone else who did a World Without Borders paint scheme on their aircraft. So it's really cool to see that getting represented in the game, because it was. Granted, it was towards the last third, I believe, of Ace Combat Zero, where they go into the World Without Borders plotline. So they're not like a huge faction in the Ace Combat universe. But it's still cool to see them represented here in at least one skin so far. I'm quite sure more will pop up later, but this is a pretty cool start to that, where again you have all of the old iconography of his old squadron, and just wiped off, and just they slapped on these quick symbols to just have at least something. So that wraps up Mr. Sir's 46's Phipthere Squadron for the 29th Auxiliary Fighter Unit. Moving on, he actually created another Ustio Air Force Squadron. This time, this is actually part of the 1st Air Division 22nd Fighter Squadron, so this is actually not a mercenary outfit squadron, but an actual Ustio Squadron proper. So it's the 1st Air Division 22nd Fighter Squadron. I believe they are the Minotaurs. You see on their squadron patch back there. I like how this takes inspiration from the Kuwaiti skins, where on the Kuwaiti jets, when they escaped at the start of the Gulf War, they escaped, and they put down, and they wrote on the front of their cockpits they wrote Free Kuwait, and in here they did Free Ustio. It's a really cool idea. The lead bird has a little bit of nose art as well. It's pretty cool. And you have the kill marks aft of the air intake, which is pretty interesting. Every one of these 4 skins also has their own unique tail number. So this one's 302. His own unique kill marks. And the tail art is pretty cool. Tail art is fairly simple. It has the Ustio flag, the Minotaur Squadron, the BT Air Base code. Not quite sure what that is, but 302 is the tail number, and Ustio Air Force written down below on the base of the tail. And it's a really cool skin coloration too. It's like a sort of a light gray. It's a light gray and then like a light greenish gray. So it's a really cool base. It's it's kind of. I would say it's kind of basic, but it's basic in a way that works for like a mountainous, foresty terrain, where you're definitely not shouty. You're definitely more like low key, low vis, with a little bit of the highlights, which makes it nice. Number 2 doesn't have any nose art, but he does have kill marks. And this one's number is 303. Number 3's is 305. And again, he also have their own names written on the canopy. He has his own kill marks. On tail number. And you have number 4 back here again. He has his own kill marks and his own tail number. So that wraps up the 22nd Fighter Squadrons, the Minotaurs. That wraps up their 4 skins. So far, Ustio is a total of 8 skins, which is pretty cool. Moving on now to Erusean. AWACS Bandog, taking inspiration from his Mirage 2000 C skin, went over and basically used the very similar pattern and idea to make an an F1 Mirage skin thing, because they're both Mirages. So it's a nice little continuation, and sort of builds a history of the Squadron over time. Has that dark blue, light blue coloration, which makes it really pop with the orange Erusean rondels on the wings and on the back of the aircraft. Jeanne d'Arc is very prominently on this aircraft's tail, again waving her spear with the Erusean flag, which is really cool. Squadron emblem up there on the side of the engine. Excuse me. Yes, the Squadron emblem is on the side of the engine. It's a really cool skin, because you can kind of use this for like naval. You can kind of use it on the coast, but it's just a really cool skin if you need to get away from the more if you need to get away from like the greens and the tans of other skins, but still be somewhat realistic. So again, that was AWACS Bandog for the 15th Fighter Squadron ruler for the Erusean Air Force. The next ones are also done by AWACS Bandog. And these are actually Emmerian skins. So we're actually doing a country that we don't normally talk about too much on this YouTube series, so far at least. So there are two. These are two separate downloads, but they're both the same squadron. You have the I guess it's the the older skin is the 121st Fighter Squadron Copperheads. And the newer skin in the back would be the 121st Fighter-Interceptor Squadron Copperheads. So these are two different skins done by AWACS Bandog. This older style skin up front is really cool, because you have this snake going all the way from the tail all the way up to the top near the engineer take, which is pretty cool. When the gear well closes, it forms the rest of the snake. You have the squadron emblem right below the cockpit, which is pretty cool. Dynamic numbering on the nose, which is pretty cool. And you have the ANG, because this is a Emmerian Air National Guard unit. Really distinctive chrome body with a really distinctive orange leading edge on that wing. And I really love this idea, like it's a bare metallic body, but it has these orange details across like the leading edges of all the control surfaces and the wings. And then you have this very bright, very shouty tail art, which is really cool. You're definitely getting noticed in this skin, but sometimes you just want to be noticed. Sometimes you just want to show off and have fun. And this is a really fun skin to do that in. I can really especially see with like the idea that it's a snake and the cactus to fly this on a desert map. Going on to their more modern skin for the Fighter-Interceptor variant of this squadron, you actually have a bit more of a quote-unquote normal camouflage skin, where you have like the light beige, the darker beige, and like sort of the light olive drab, and a desert camouflage pattern. The flashy tail has been eliminated in favor of a more camouflage tail. Still have the ANG markings. Still the dynamic tail number markings, and you still have the cactus and the snake motif as part of like a stenciled emblem in black, and that's really cool. Plus, they haven't entirely gotten rid of the snake. They just reduced the snake's side, so the snake is a bit smaller, but it's still going on the side of the aircraft, and it's underneath the wing too, so it's not like it's super visible from a dogfight. Like if you're dogfighting the enemy from here, you're not going to see the snake. You're only going to see it from like on the ground on the side. So it's a pretty cool. It's still cool that they managed to make that little detail. And you also have the high-vis Emmerian markings on these aircrafts. It's a really cool rondel for the Emmerian Air Force, and I'm probably going to do a video where I'm just going to do units of the Emmerian Air Force. Give it a little bit of time. I think with the F-15E coming out, we'll probably get a lot of Gryphus 1 skins for that. So that covers the Emmerian's combat skins. Now there actually is one more set of skins that we're going to cover today, and this is the Emmerian Air Force. Again, an Air National Guard unit for the Emmerian Air Forces. This one's done by the Mr. Sir 46, and this is actually the 10th Air Division 47th Reconnaissance Squadron. So this is a reconnaissance squadron that the Emmerian Air National Guard has created, and each one of these 4 aircraft has their own individual numbers. So they have individual tail numbers, and they also have individual names on each cockpit. Now, is there a reconnaissance squadron? What you're able to do with the Mirage F1 series of aircraft, especially with, I think, the CE variant that we have right now, is you can go into the skin and you can actually add a camera onto the aircraft skin by going into the Lua, by the skin's description Lua text file. So there's a text file on every skin that's called description, and if you go into that and you go into custom ARGs in that script, you can add in a script, you can add in a line of code, and I'll post this in the description down below, where you can actually set up the skin to carry a reconnaissance pod. It's not really non-functional. It doesn't really do anything with the actual aircraft, but it does actually, with the skin, add it to the external model. So it's a pretty cool touch. Like I said, I don't think there's really any in-game functionality. If it had in-game functionality, it would have to be part of a I think it would have to be part of like a store or something you would attach to the aircraft in like the stores page. But it's still a really cool instead of like the livery page. But it's still pretty cool that you can actually have you can basically quote unquote pretend that you're flying over, and then during the mission play out a script that says, okay, you're over this area, like we're starting the camera right now, and then you fly with parameters, sort of like how Enigma Cold War does it. Like I would imagine if Enigma Cold War has skins or at least slots set up for reconnaissance aircraft, they would use a skin like this with that reconnaissance pod. So on that note, there are 2 separate pods that you can add onto the aircraft. There is a high altitude version where the camera points down right here on this that I put on this skin right here, and there's another low altitude camera on the skin next door that we'll cover shortly. So onto the skin itself, I really like this. Again, I really like this coloration. You have the sort of like a more faded sand, and you also then have like a darker green, almost sort of like it's a darker greenish gray. But you also have then this like darker like sea green that's kind of faded, and it looks it looks really nice and soft. And I really like the way that the color combination worked out here with this skin. It's very much, you can kind of see this being used sort of in like more of a tundra-based environment that Emmeria is sort of situated in. More of a tundra-based. Probably look really good on the South Atlantic map. Again, you have the tail number, you have the airport code, you have A and G on the top, you have the American markings you have the bright high-vis Emmeria markings on the sides of the aircraft on the wings. Yeah, this is a really cool-looking skin. And again, you can see on this version, I have down here, I have the high-altitude camera, which is 1 ARG. On number 2 has, again, a different name on the cockpit, different tail number. And on this skin, I set it up to use a low-altitude camera that points forward. And, well, technically that does make it not a CR variant like the skin has it listed. It makes it a CT variant. It doesn't matter. I would probably say for whatever mission you want, you can have you can have whatever, you can modify the skins however you wish for like the camera for whatever camera type you want, and use that camera type for whatever kind of recon mission you want to fly in, and you can have it set up that way. Lots of fun time, but in general, you can stick to the high altitude. I think this skin was intended to come with the high altitude camera. So on this one, again, I have the low altitude camera on number 2. Otherwise, it's the same as number 1. Number 3, again, same as the other 2, just different tail number, different name on the cockpit. No kill marks on any of these, by the way. This is a very much an Air National Guard recon squadron, so I doubt they're getting into any tussles. They're just there doing a recon flight, providing intel to the actual ground pounders. Put on number 3 here. I have number 3 set up with a high altitude camera. And number 4 here, again, like the other previous 3, similar pattern, different tail, just different numbers, different name on the front of the cockpit, and I have this guy set up with a low altitude camera. So again, like always, I'm going to post the links to these skins down below, including this one done by, again, Mr. Sir 46. He did a, I know he was having, when I downloaded this skin a while back, he said he was having trouble with the custom ARGs that get you the cameras, but I figured out at least a solution that works at least for when I'm filming this video. Maybe by the time it releases, they'll probably have another solution or fix or something else. If that's the case, I'll release an amendment onto the tail end of this segment, showcasing how to do that. But in the meantime, I'll make sure I'll get those custom ARGs that you can put into the actual description file into the description down below, as well as the links to all these skins. So until next time, this is Loco S, signing out. Hey everyone, Loco S here. So, figured I'd give a bit of a heads up on my little experiment I just did. Before I end this video and sign out, figured I'd cut to this because apparently you can actually put the these Ace Combat skins that were created for the CE into the EE's user file. However, it does do stuff, like it does remove the it does visually remove the refueling probe, but it does keep everything else intact. Like you can still use the Super 530s. Still have those there. You can still have have all the weapons and equipment that the regular version had. And we're gonna go ahead. I know that's called Recon. I'm just playing around with something here real quick. We're gonna go ahead and have this as a player. We're gonna hop on in. We're gonna see what the cockpit looks like. Okay, here we go. Does this say we are a flight of Mirage F1 EE? And it does look like interesting. Get this trim because I don't have the control set up for an EE. I've been mostly sticking to the CE. Let's see here. Yeah, well, it is the EE's cockpit because it does have the new INS system. And the weapon panel got moved down. So this is very much an EE aircraft. We're just flying a Mirage CE skin, and I don't know if we tried to do aerial refueling, if that probe would still technically function, even though it's not visually equipped. But it's something that you can do if you want to play around. I'm quite sure you can also continue messing with ARGs to get the Mirage EE's probe back up. But this is something you can do. You can play around with the skin. The actual skin and coloration, all's there. The ARGs that I used for the camera pod are still intact, so that's still good. So this is something, again, it's something fun you can do. You can use the CE skin on the EE. It's just not something that you're going to have to play around with and experiment with. So I'll cut back to the other video, and we'll end there.